The wind howled as rain lashed the shack. Storms in Booty Bay weren't uncommon, but this one was trying to outdo the others. Crald was glad they had time to board up the windows ahead of the storm. It had been Gaunt, an old Tauren who worked the docks with his father, who'd sent him home early. Bad storm's on its way. Everything's aching from my horns to my hooves. Better go home and hunker down with the children. Lightning illuminated the shack through the gaps between some of the wood planks, followed quickly by a clap of thunder that rattled everything down to Crald's tusks. Fixza jumped at the sound, then scurried to Crald. She grabbed his arm and hid her face against it. "This one's bad," she said, her voice squeakier than usual. "Yes," Crald agreed. "Flashwing and his mother Skyfury are having a mighty fight today." Fixza peeked out from Crald's arm, loosening her grip as she did so. "Who are they?" Crald clenched and unclenched his hand with a scowl as the blood returned to his arm and fingers. Out the corner of his eye, Crald saw his father's mouth twitch with amusement. Flashwing and Skyfury are two dread ravens, birds so large even orcs could ride them. When storms rolled across the land, Flashwing and his mother Skyfury were not far behind. Flashwing did not like storms and rain, and would become furious when they formed. He would lose his temper, diving at everything from the trees to villages. He moved so quickly, his wings were a blinding light that seared the eyes, as well as setting fire to and breaking anything they touched. His mother, much slower than her unruly son, would follow behind him, scolding him with booming caws that broke mountains. But no matter how loud she was, he never listened. Many villages and people were lost to the whims of Flashwing, so many that orcs of all clans gathered at the throne of the elements, begging the elemental Furies to help them. The Furies, after hearing the desperation of those still alive, decided to banish Flashwing. Boreas, the Fury of Water, and Calandrios, the Fury of Air, worked together to build the biggest storm they'd ever created right over the throne of elements to lure in Flashwing. He took the bait, his wings a blinding display of his temper as he dove at them. However, his wings moved faster than his thoughts and the Furies sprung their trap. Boreas dumped a river's worth of water on Flashwing, flooding the throne of the elements, but weighing down the dread raven's feathers. The moment Flashwing was forced to land, his wings too heavy to fly with, Gordog, the Fury of the Earth, encased him in mud. No longer able to move, Gordog picked up Flashwing, and with all his strength threw him to Calandrios. The Air Fury's winds howled with how quickly he commanded them to move. When Flashwing reached him, he threw the dread raven high into the air, banishing him from the land with a flash as the mud fell from his wings. However, his mother, Skyfury, was not far behind. Incineratus, Fury of Fire, blazed hot and bright to lure her into thinking this was where she could find her son. The Furies repeated the process, and with a screech that rattled the stones of the throne of the elements, she joined him in the sky. The solution wasn't perfect. Flashwing still dives in anger at the land during storms, streaking across the sky in the blink of an eye. But he was so fearful of the elements, he never stayed for more than a moment. Now Skyfury gives him an earful when he returns to the sky, shaking mountains with her scolding instead of breaking them. By the time his father finished, the storm had abated. Rain drummed against the wood of the shack, while the flash of lightning and grumble of thunder were distant. "Seems the worst has moved on," Crald observed, then shook his arm free from Fixza. "It's your turn to help with dinner." Fixza stuck her tongue out at Crald, then stood up and looked at Crald. "Can you tell me more stories as we cook?" Crald stood, then nodded. "Of course. Would you like to hear about the time Cook Barasha the Bold was drawn into a battle hymn competition to win a recipe from the Warsong clan?" Fixza jumped up and down. "Yeah." Since Fixza was helping with the cooking, it'd be his job to help his dad clean up after. He had nothing to do until dinner, so Crald laid back on his sleeping mat, closing his eyes. His father's rumbling voice and the tapping of the rain on the roof quickly lulled him to sleep. This story was inspired by the story of lightning and thunder, which is an African folktale. I'll put a link to the original story in the comments. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to hit the like button as quick as lightning, followed by rolling thunder over the subscribe button, then turning notifications on before the Furies catch you. Until next time, I hope you all have a great rest of your day or night.